Hi, this is Ing Venning for Conscious Mosaic, coming to you on a pretty dreary fall day, mid-late October. Halloween and Samhain are coming up, so I've been doing some horror content. There was already a post up about Slenderman, already a post about Frailty if you like that horror movie. Recently, I did a post on Diablo. Coming up, probably later today or tomorrow, I'm going to post a video of me interviewing Alex McVeigh about The Ritual, both the book and the movie. And then coming up in about a week or so, I'm getting together some geeky friends and we're going to discuss The Witch and film the conversation and share it with you. So please tune in for that. Today, though, I want to talk about The Last Will and Testament of Rosalind Leigh. Um, this is not like a jump scare or gore-fueled movie. This is a quieter movie, a psychological horror or psychological thriller movie. One that I really identify with and that I really like, especially the character of Leon. And I think that comes from my background growing up. Uh, I lived when I was a kid in a pretty closed-minded, Christian-dominated town. My parents forced me to go to a Southern Baptist church. It was not the right faith for me. I didn't have a word for pagan back when I started going to that church, but that's what I was. And when I came across the term later, I was like, yeah, that's what describes me. Now, that's the short answer that I'm pagan. The long answer is that I am a Taoist, Buddhist, and Hindu influenced eclectic pagan existentialist. So you may prefer the short answer. But growing up in that church and in that town, I knew I was different. And I just couldn't hide that, and I would talk to parents, teachers, Sunday school teachers, school teachers, other people in the church, the pastor, different people about, I'm not Christian. I was like, I would let them know I'm not Christian. I don't belong here. And I think some people thought that it was just a phase and I would get over it and come back to the flock. And I think some people thought that there was something just really bad deep inside of me that I wouldn't, go along with the people that were around me. Um, but it was very lonely. There were a lot of people that I couldn't be friends with because of their affiliation with the church or because they didn't want to be looked down upon. Being an individual, when you have people around you who are part of the faith community, who are insisting that you be part of it, who put so much pressure on you when you're not part of the faith community, when you just don't believe in the way that they do, that really, I went back through a lot of those memories, and that really struck a chord with me when I was watching Last Will and Testament of Rosalind Leigh. So I want to talk about names in the movie real quick. We have Leon and Rosalind Leigh, and Rosalind can mean like gentle horse. So the idea here could be that she is kind of a beast of burden for the angel cult for her beliefs, and they found maybe some gentle, beast of burden that could carry their faith for them. It could also mean beautiful rose, so something that's beautiful but which has thorns. And there's definitely a darker, more piercing side to her belief and her faith, and we see that with Leon when we learn more about his childhood. Leon means lion, and we'll talk a minute about the cat, sort of a cat beast in this movie. We also have their last name, Leigh, and Leigh can mean meadow or from the meadow, but it can also mean like weary or delicate, right? And remember, this is both their names, so they're both weary or delicate in some way. So Leon means lion, and we do have like a cat beast, right? It's Rosalind describes it as an animal, right? This animal loneliness, and it takes away your good memories and it leaves something like sorrowful behind, right? And it can make faith seem fragile. And remember, the theme, the sort of motto of the angel cult that Rosalind belongs to is faith is fragile, right? This idea that faith can be easily destroyed. And that loneliness, as this sort of a cat beast, is the opposite of faith, right? Loneliness and faith are fighting together. Faith involves being together with other people that believe the same thing. Loneliness is, for instance, with Leo, going out on your own as an individual, making your way in life, making your own artwork. So to call him lion and to associate him with this cat beast in that way, right? That he's lonely in the sense that he wants to be an individual and he doesn't want to conform and he doesn't want to be part of all that's going on with him, right? That name lion almost makes it like he's the cat beast, like he's both affected by loneliness and loneliness personified in this movie, which I think is very interesting because loneliness is such an important theme here. And we see that Leon is very lonely, just as Rosalind was lonely, right? Her son left her and she was alone in the house. And she had her angel cult, yeah, but she says, like, the funeral was empty without you. Like, the real person that she wanted in her life was her son, but she pushed him away. Leon is lonely in the sense that he's in this individual. He goes away from what he knows and the angel cult his mom forces on him and the religion that she wants to force on him, and goes out and does his own thing in life, right? So, in that sense, both loneliness and individualism are kind of the opposite of faith, or nonconformity is kind of the opposite of faith, which makes sense and which really reminds me of my childhood. So I really sympathize with Leon in that way. Now, I want to talk about too, and notice, by the way, with Leon, he has chances sometimes to be with other people, right? He was, I guess, with Anne, who is seems to be a therapist and maybe also was a lover, but he's not with her anymore. He's moved away from that. He, as far as with his mom, he, pulled himself away, pulled himself out of that. When you remember there's the neither man nor woman sampler on the wall, and then he drops, I think it's a fork, but he drops whatever was on the sign that said, oh, the person at the door will be neither man nor woman. And then he answers the door and there's a person on the other end we don't see, but we hear the voice. And I swear the voice of this character sounds just like Derek Jacobi to me. I don't know if I'm crazy. If you thought it sounded like Derek Jacobi too, let me know. But whoever's at the door, like, he won't invite him into dinner. He would rather be alone. So Leon has kind of a bent toward loneliness in his nature. Now, whether his mother programmed that into him, and he doesn't want to be around people that have that same faith, or whether or not he was kind of individualistic to begin with or nonconformist to begin with, it's kind of hard to say. But he does seem to have a penchant for loneliness. I'm not sure if he hates it as much as his mother, though. I think it may be that he kind of embraces loneliness, whereas she hates it. It's her bane. Now, I also definitely want to talk about the game of candles. She forces him, it's like a belief game, right? And she forces him, she tests his faith. And remember, she believes faith is fragile, but she still tests his faith. She lights the candles, and as they go out one by one, she tries to force him to say, the angel's going to turn his back on you, right? You'll be damned if you don't say that you believe in this, right? You'll be damned if you let the candles go out without saying that you believe. Now, this is a horrible, cruel test, right? It kind of is making him choose. It's kind of setting up this false dichotomy of home, family, this particular faith, the angel faith, versus what's going on outside of the home, individualism, nonconformity. And, these aren't necessarily opposites, right? She could love him and he could have a different faith or no faith at all. She could still choose to love him, but she doesn't, right? She tests his belief. Knowing faith is fragile, she tests his belief. And what really strikes me is that Leon is not really the one being tested, or perhaps he's only one of the ones being tested in this game of candles. In a sense, she's playing the game of candles. She needs to believe in her son before the candles go out, but she can't do it, right? What's really happening is a test where when he fails, quote unquote, the test, and he is sick of his mom and he leaves, she was really testing her faith in Leon, her faith in her own son, right? And she chose not to believe in her own son, not to believe in his ideas, not to believe in his goals, not to believe in him as a person. And that forced him away. And what happens in the end? She's lonely. She can't take it. She starts to see the loneliness beast outside. She ends up killing herself. And then she has another chance, right? Leon comes back, and maybe she could connect with him as a ghost, because she's, as a ghost now. But he ends up leaving. He's sick of it. The dark beast comes after him, right? And he leaves, right? Because she invited that loneliness into the house, because she invited that idea of, if you're not part of my faith, if you don't believe as I do, then I can't love you and I can't have you in my life. And that just so much, it's sad, but it reminds me of my childhood. And there are people from my childhood that I lost friendships with forever. There are family members who don't want to have anything to do with me because I'm not of their faith community, because I don't believe as they do, right? They couldn't accept me. And it was very difficult to be my own self, to forge my own path. But it was what I had to do. It's what Leon had to do. And I don't blame him for it. So if you have thoughts about this movie, different interpretations are fine, or other things, or things that I missed, or whatever, please let me know. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Help me grow this little channel. This is not your typical YouTube channel. There's not a lot of flash here. These are just intellectual discussions that I want people to be part of, but it's a little bit harder to keep a YouTube channel like that going. So please, please, please help me out if you can. Stay tuned for The Witch and The Ritual and lots of other good stuff coming up, horror content and otherwise. And have a fantastic, dreary, but beautiful October day, everybody.